So I rode this thing around a little bit. This is the, I think it's pronounced okai, but it's spelled okai. And this is the okai Neon Pro. And man, it zips along. I'm really impressed with it. I weigh 220 pounds, which was actually what it was rated for. And it pulls me up hills, gains speed. I took it to the park yesterday and rode it on the trails out there and probably did like 10 miles, and I don't have any complaints. It's real smooth, got good acceleration. The battery never really got low. It was, I think I used 20%. I rode like 8 miles, something like that. However, there is a complaint. And so I think, I watched some videos where, people talk about it and they didn't really have any complaints and they're great and all this and that. And I don't really know that those are honest reviews. They were probably sent the scooter and felt obligated to, go easy on them. I bought it, and I don't ever tell a lie, so not that I wouldn't. I mean, somebody showed up my door and said, "Hey, I'm here to kill your son. Is he here?" I'm going to say no. He's not here right now. And then they're probably not going to make it out of here alive. But that's beside the point. My point is that I ain't got no reason to lie about anything like this, and I ain't going to. So my main complaint here is that this thing has a disc brake in the rear. Well, that ain't the complaint. The complaint is it ain't set up right. And when I squeeze, if you notice, and I hope it'll show up on the camera, when you squeeze the lever, you see how the disc is actually flexing? Well, that's because the caliper isn't centered over the disc. Now that ain't the complaint. The complaint is that when you're stopping, you probably can't hear it rub, but if I was standing on this thing and riding it down the driveway or riding it anywhere and I hit the brake to stop, well, it's going to sound like, it'd sound like your car when the brake pads are wore out and it's metal on metal, squeaking and screeching. And so I'm going to show you how to center this in case you don't know, because I have a feeling that this ain't going to be the only scooter that's like that, and even other brands with a disc brake's going to be like that. And your bicycles and mountain bikes and all that, they're going to be like that or get like that. So this is real simple, and we're going to set this thing up right, and it ain't going to be no big deal. Alright, so first things first, let's understand that this is not a high-end disc brake caliper like you'd see on, a high to even mid-range mountain bike. This is the cheapest caliper that you could possibly make. Now, the thing is about these kind of calipers is the only thing, so you got a pad on each side of the disc, but the one on the back side of the disc, back here, well, it doesn't move. It's stationary. So when this is mechanical, obviously, it's a cable, I'm not saying anyone's dumb, but not everybody knows this. So this is not a hydraulic brake. This is a mechanical brake. When you squeeze the lever, it pulls the cable, and it makes this swing upwards. And when that swings upwards, it pushes the other brake disc against the caliper, and it will then also pinch it against the brake pad that's on the back side. If there's a large gap on the back side where the brake pad is at that does not move, you're going to get that big flex. Now, there's not going to be a way to take all that flex out because this is a shitty caliper and it's a shitty design. It's the cheapest way you can do it. It stops fine. I mean, it'll lock up the back tire and leave a black mark. So, I mean, it works. But if you're really irritated with the noise of the brake pad scraping on the disc, well, for one, just live with it if you want, because eventually it'll break in and it'll stop that. But you can try to help it out by making sure that these gaps are adjusted properly. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to undo this screw on the end, the one that's got the little clamp, and it clamps your cable down. It holds the end of the cable. That's what holds the caliper arm to your cable. And I can't get the stupid thing to come up. There it is. Anyway, you notice it has this little spider fangs, you know, here. So that goes on the back side towards the wheel, and your cable lays across this groove and underneath there. Okay. So what you're going to want to do is take that off so this can relax all the way, because you don't know how the Chinese kid or the one of the Uyghur slaves, you know, set this up. And you're going to undo these, and you're going to loosen them, and you're going to, then, what you're going to do, I'm tightening them because I've already done this part. You'll notice once you get this loose, do you hear anything? Listen, you don't hear nothing. But what you're probably going to hear if you're having this problem is that. You're going to hear that noise. Once you get these loose, what you want to do is run them down until they're snug, but I mean just barely snug. And then actuate this by hand, and that will center the caliper to the disc. Then you'll want to put a light back here, and I'm sure there's no way I'm going to pull this off with the camera, but if you look down through there, you should try to see. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't get the camera in there. But you're going to look between the disc and the brake pad, and you want to see daylight on the caliper side. You want that back side to be so close that you can't pass a piece of paper through it, but not so close that it's rubbing when you spin the wheel. See, mine's no longer rubbing. It was rubbing. Then, after you get this cranked back down, you're going to put the cable back underneath here. Now, what I would do at this point, if your scooter came out of the box, or maybe it's not new and you've adjusted, this is a ferrule right here, this little piece right here, and it's threaded. And there's also one right here on the back of the brake handle. And what that does is it will adjust any slack. So, I mean, for example, because this is new, after a while, you're going to think it's because the brake pad's worn and now my brake lever, I have to squeeze it farther. What it's really going to most likely be is the cable has stretched. And you can adjust with that ferrule the slack out of that cable. And you can fine tune it. I mean, you can adjust it to the point that the caliper arm actually makes the brake pad touch the disc, and you obviously don't want that. But you have so what I would do at this point is I would make sure those are bottomed out so you have plenty of slack so that you can fine tune this. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, no noise. So you can adjust that ferrule and get that brake lever to actuate at whatever point you want. Mine's close to the handle. It wasn't, but it is because I undid all this. And I'll adjust that out. Maybe. I don't know. I might like it right there. You know, that gives me more distance so I could use my front brake without the back brake being involved. If I like that, I don't know. We'll see. But you can make those adjustments on the fly by just turning this. But anyway, so about the scooter, I got it, I opened it, I took it out of the box. It wouldn't come on. I never read the instructions. It wouldn't come on though because it has like this transport mode, so like I guess it can't accidentally come on during transportation. You have to plug the battery charger in, and that will take it out of transport mode. Then you can turn it on and off. Mine was at 49% charge when it showed up, and I didn't charge it. I rode it. The book probably tells you to charge it first or whatever, but they're lithium batteries. It's not a big deal. They're not NiCad batteries like, you know, that have memory and shit like that. So I rode it and then I charged it. I went through the process of trying to get it to connect to the app because you know, there's a light. This is a light, and like all the needle jumpers and the, you know, people that, you know, like to wear a mask and be told what to do. Those people, man, all the videos I saw, they just thought that was so cool. They raved about that. Well, I think it's dorky, and I didn't want it on. And through the app, I was able to turn that off, so it's no longer on. And the headlight, you know, you turn it on with the button, like one touch of the button after it's on turns the light on or something like that. I don't remember. I had a hard time getting it to connect to Bluetooth. I followed the instructions. I read the instructions. I did what it said. I scanned the QR code. I mean, I fooled with it, and then I was like, whatever, I don't care that bad. And I threw it in the truck, and my son and I went to the park, took his scooter, and we just rode around, and well, it decided to connect on its own. So I don't know what in the heck happened, but now it's connected, and I turned that dork light off, and I think it's cool. So I watched YouTube videos, and you know, people will do a speed test with a stopwatch, and you know, it's really hard to get like a real, you know, solid idea of how that really transfers into the real world. And so I'm not even going to bother doing that. But you know, you throw this thing in a camper and you end up traveling around and going to different places. Maybe you're Galveston Beach, and then you're, you know, Pigeon Forge. I mean, you just don't never know where you're going to be. And you might want to cruise around and, you know, see what's around the place without having to walk everywhere or drive everywhere. I think it's a nice, easy way to get around. So one of the concerns is, well, will it climb hills? Can it take me across the grass? And the answer is yes. This thing will climb hills in the grass. I mean, I have some steep hills here. I don't know what grade they are, but they're steep. I mean, you go up to the top of one of them on a bicycle and just lift your legs up. You're going to be going 15 miles an hour when you get to the bottom of the hill. And gravity's going to do all that work. So it's that steep. And it'll climb it and gain speed climbing it. Now, that same hill in the grass, I found that it would just kind of maintain 7 or 8 miles an hour if that's how fast you were going when you entered the hill. It didn't really gain any speed on the hill, and if you tried to start in the middle of the hill, it would barely go. But if you turned it just a little bit at an angle, it would accelerate. The front tire would start spinning. I mean, it was trying to go. It wanted to go. And once you had some speed, you could turn it and point it straight up the hill, and it would carry you up there in the grass at whatever speed you were at. So I was pretty impressed with that, and so it's got plenty of power, and that's the main thing. They say it has a 50-mile range. I doubt it. I think I saw some YouTube videos where they were getting 20 miles or so. Now, I will say, my driveway's a couple 100 feet long, flat on the bottom, and then the other half's a hill. Well, my son, he got on his scooter and he wanted me to get on this one, and he had some kind of race that he had devised that had us going up and down the hill, up and down the hill. Well, I did that for, golly, 15 minutes. And then there was a yellow or a red triangle that showed up on the display and a number 8. Well, I knew it overheated without even looking. But eventually I did pull up the manual. There's a troubleshooting chart there, and it said, yeah, overheat, motor overheat. Didn't hurt nothing. After a few minutes, it went away, and I was back in business. Well, the reason why that happened is because I'm going up the hill under a load, hitting the brake, going down the hill, hitting the brake. It's stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. I mean, honestly, now that I think about it, that's some pretty good abuse. And under normal conditions, that would never happen. I mean, normal riding conditions, anywhere, I don't see that ever happening. So, yeah. There you go. That's all I got.